Where are you, Anne-Marie?
I am by the Sea of Galilee, the sea that Jesus performed the miracle by walking on it. I can't believe.
Fisher, who is unavailable, absent, I happy for this opportunity to greet you today at the 2023 graduation at this School of Excellence. Graduation is a milestone of all levels. For the reason, I feel truly honored to be here at all wonderful occasion annual graduation ceremony at the Old Harbour Primary School Institute of Excellence. It is great joy I am here today to assure you all graduates that I know you face a rough task throughout your preparation, your primary school year, especially during the pandemic. And with all the preparation for PEP, but I have no doubt the series of scare events you endure during the period has only made you stronger and more resilient for the road.
I truly believe our political system needs some fixing. Too much you hear about corrupt politicians and nothing happen. Too much you hear about politicians who take away poor people money and none of them reach in jail. And to the young people at home or wherever you are, and to all Jamaicans, I have one question for you. Take a look at your communities. Take a look at the sliding dollar. Take a look at the failing healthcare and ask yourselves, Where is the progress? Where is the progress that this arrogant and disrespectful government keeps talking about? With this existing callous government, matters have gone from bad to worse.
This is Global TV election campaign coverage. This is Global TV election campaign coverage.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to 2024 Jamaica Decide. It is always lovely to be here with you in the slot of At a Glance, but you all know the procedure here, this period. But good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning to those on the X, those on Twitch, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Good morning all, and welcome. Good morning to Overcomer. You're always over Facebook. Good morning and welcome. Good morning to Patricia Matthews. Good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, Jason Kane. Good morning, good afternoon. Antonia, good morning, good afternoon. Amazing Grace, good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon. Debbie Jervis, good morning, good afternoon. Who else? Yvonne Johnson, good morning, good afternoon. Inner Circle, good morning, good afternoon. Natalia Freeman, good morning, good afternoon. Parkin, good morning, good afternoon. Noreen Dennison, good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon. The Easy Jerk World, good morning, good afternoon. Sunshine, good morning, good afternoon. Andrea Joan Hamilton Wilson, good morning, good afternoon. Delroy Henry, good morning, good afternoon. Cousin Myrna Bryan, good morning, good afternoon. On a light come back yet, Myrna? Good morning to Pat Brown over Facebook. Good morning, good afternoon. Agnostic, good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to everyone. Michelle Clark, good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to everyone. As I told you last night, we're going to be looking at Delroy's Chuck argument and his attempt successfully, because the majority allowed them to do certain things, change the rules to steal the election. There's no other reason for pushing it through this time other than with an intention or an attempt to steal the election, because the Prime Minister on his island-wide tour. Make we talk Jeffrey Tavares. Good morning and welcome. The Prime Minister is realizing more and more in his island-wide tour, it not look pretty out there. It don't look pretty out there. Young people fed up across the country, and they're asking for better. Not the continuous failed promises.
Rice and chicken back want a better day.
Rice and chicken back too dear, you. Just like it's expensive.
No violence.
$300 for chicken back.
No silent to it. We're not sleep with the door open, no.
Man, thing will be a need to develop. We
We're
need
not sleep
things.
with the door open, no.
13,000 to little bit. Mr. Brogan, I want thing I want to tell them, boss. Boy, I run my business and I want to pay them tax like a Chinese them. That's all. That's all I want to do, boss. I run my little business and I pay them tax like a Chinese them.
Me never know that a Dr. Chang run up down in and nothing up there.
It's China, I live to independence.
And they believe for years. Only when election time in come around. No. See Mr. Chang there. Mr. Chang, me live a paradise and know me. The place need police station at Uga. No.
Mr. Chang, you know me. A bewildered looking Prime Minister a few weeks ago in Western Jamaica. Bewildered looking, where the crowd is saying to you, Prime Minister, you have failed on all of your promises. We now get job. We can't buy chicken back anymore. Police station, not in a well-needed place of the National Security Minister constituency. But if he had no gun in there, why would he want to put police there? I would have saw him fool. If he had put gun there would be no reason to put police there. But the people were reminding your Prime Minister that you have failed horribly. Horribly. That's what the people were reminding you, how well you have failed. Good morning, Anishka Bunton and Fitzbailey. Morning. Morning. I wonder if Fitzbailey do any swab on the Anishka Bunton fingernail. Or them never bother with it. Or because Anishka Bunton is a well-established criminal. Anishka Bunton may well know how, what chemical to soak her finger them in. Isn't it, Mrs. Bunton? You might well know what chemical to soak the finger them in. To get rid. This is not the one I want to share now. To get rid Anishka Bunton of any blood under your fingernail. Just asking. Come in and know why Fitzbailey wouldn't want to check under your fingernail. I don't know why Fitzbailey Anishka Bunton wouldn't want to check under your fingernails. Be quite surprising sometimes what you could find. Isn't it, Mrs. Bunton? But yes, Delroy Chuck, the prankster. I'm going to make my way through this article, so bear with me. While I go through it, you can go through it and screen with me as well. But you can see the title, Delroy Chuck says the Electoral Commission of Jamaica can manage. Meaning, the Electoral Commission of Jamaica can manage the extra role given to them to throw justice under the table. Miranda, rather, good morning and welcome. In order to deny us public justice, Delroy Chuck is saying the ECJ can manage to help us in this corruption. The ECJ can manage to help us in this interference of the legislative process. The ECJ can manage in helping us evading scrutiny when we do not serve, when we commit crimes, when we deploy corrupt practices right across government. So because we have the office, enough with office, we can shut down anything, we can muzzle anything, and we can put our own narrative out there, how we want you, the public, to perceive our bullcrap. Doesn't really matter if it works for you. We just want you to believe it. Doesn't matter if it works for you. We just want you to believe it. The government has given due consideration to subsuming the office of the political ombudsman into the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Careful and extensive consideration. What I'm reading, this bit There's some bit that I'm putting in that is not there, that should be there. So if you can see it well on the screen here, it said careful and extensive and strongly. When I say how the thing is leading, the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, the government has given due consideration to subsuming the office of the political ombudsman, extensive and strongly. So they mix you up in the upper top by telling you upper top this, so them give due consideration. But what is the due consideration on an 8-hour legislation? Give us the due consideration. Who was consulted, Prime Minister? Because the leader of the opposition said the first them know about it, I want to approach Parliament with it. So how due consideration? That's why you don't have to split the thing in two. You couldn't write it in one place together because you not try to muzzle people. How could due consideration be given? You did not do a public consultation. You did not put out a policy proposal. You did not consult the leader of the opposition. So how is it? How was it given due consideration? But let's continue. The ECJ is definitely the most appropriate body to respond to and adjudicate on instance of political misconduct across Jamaica. Failure. That's a lie. It's not true. The body is well composed to ensure its decision raise above partisan political extraneous consideration. That is also not true. The fact that it is an independent body meant to be operating independent of government, and under this new subsuming, merging together, mix them up together so you don't know who is who. Taking it into the Prime Minister office, meaning Earl Jarrett will have his final reporting to the Prime Minister. Now, a body like this, the Office of the Political Ombudsman, a body like this should be reporting to place like the General Legal Council or the Bar of Association, and final reporting to the Ministry of Justice. But this reporting will go to the Prime Minister, who can clamp down because it is in his office. It's under his jurisdiction. It's not in the Department of Justice, or it's not in the Office of Constitutional, Legal and Constitutional Affairs. If that's the case, those are the body that should have oversight of the jurisdiction of the political ombudsman, but not the Prime Minister, especially a Prime Minister which is so involved in a lot of crookedness and corruption. In 2012, a motion presented by a member of Parliament, Muma Lashe, in the House of Representatives led to the adoption of the idea that the political ombudsman had become obsolete. How come? It has become obsolete because you all fail to enforce the rules because of corruption. It was because of the same reason when Donald Parchment Brown enforced the rules on Michelle Charles. You all got rid of her and got rid of the office. So making it obsolete is because of lack of enforcement. Wilmington was citing its ineffective track record of enforcing compliance among political parties, precisely because the corruption where you all protect each other because all of you in the same crime and bangarang, So no, make sure the rules enforced properly against each other. Because when one come in, one have to protect the other. Because the one we just gone out done loot, and me will come in after loot. And if me go call him out when him come back next time, him may go prosecute me for him loot as for my loot as well. So therefore, we can't really enforce nothing against one another. We just have to make the word them tend if we fool the public for say, yes, of course we have all these things in place, but enforceability, investigation, and enforceability is a major problem in our legal system. Since then, the Office of the Political Ombudsman has continued to produce lectures result, and the present government determined several years ago not to renew the contract of the incumbent upon its expiration in 2022. This was after Donna Parchment Brown disciplined Michelle Charles when Michelle Charles acted corruptly, leading up to the 2020 general election. Then there was an investigation, and Donna Parchment Brown gave a ruling, I think, March 2021. March 2021. And then, because of contractual appointment, she had to finish her term, which ended in November 2022. So when her term ended in November 2022, Andrew Holness refused to reappoint her. The office was working then. It showed the powers of the office. And Donna Parchment Brown, exercising her power given by the office in law, was penalized for doing so. So this was the Prime Minister saying at this point, this office is too effective. I cannot have this office working in its current capacity if somebody at the helm is not corrupt. If it's somebody who is going to apply the powers given to the office, work with their integrity, then by all means, a lot of us are going to have hullabaloo. So that's why Holness refused to reappoint Donna Parchment Brown, because generally, people get appointed 2-term within that position. He removed her and refused to reappoint anyone else because he doesn't want the rules enforced against him and them. What he does now is change the rule. Him and Delroy Chuck cocked up with Earl Jarrett, who's the director of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Cocked up some conundrum together and say, I will take on this role to do whatever you want me to do. So the Prime Minister changed the rules, even though not sought out, not fully understand, without procedures and guidelines. All because of removing powers of accountability. Because if that office is reappointed to someone that the Prime Minister cannot control, then the Prime Minister and a lot of other people in government and in public service are going to be in problem. So this is reducing or removing the power of the office. Following discussion between parliamentary leaders, it was agreed that the function of the Following discussion between the parliamentary leaders, it was agreed that the function of the Office of the Political Ombudsman should merge into the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, then is Mark Golding playing a hypocrite to say we never know it until it come in a myth fed up at them? Because one of them are liar and thief. Since then, the Ministry of Justice has examined several alternatives to implement the decision taken in relation to this office, including the possibility of providing criminal sanction to strengthen the authority of the Office of the Political Ombudsman. So what they're saying here, they would be given the political ombudsman power to prosecute possible of providing criminal sanction to strengthen the authority. So that means they would have the power to refer from their investigation corrupt public official to Madam DPP for prosecution. Now you understand it? They're given the office power to prosecute, to refer to prosecution, to power to put criminal sanctions on you. Meaning then they would have to refer you to the Director of Public Prosecution for prosecution. Who them have there? Who do they have there? So you all see where it's going. This is why I would imagine in some instance, the editorial is saying, this is a toothless dog anyway, regardless of what I say. I want to take out the dog teeth already. Removing Dana Parchment Brown was taking out the dog teeth. That was where you remove the dog teeth. So muzzle the dog now. Muzzle the dog and put in at the Prime Minister's office. The dog will just stay out there, bark forever, but will never be able to bite. That's what the Prime Minister has done to that which should hold him and those around him accountable. But at the same time, they're telling you that the decisions of that muzzled dog will not be partisan. Fairness. I wonder how possible. It was determined, however, that the political code of conduct should not be criminalized. Backside. You know here? It was decided, it was determined rather, that the political code of conduct should not be criminalized. Means that we'll create a loophole that no matter what, we can bob and wave and dodge under the table and don't have to sign on an integrity code where in any other organization or institution that you're working in, you have to sign their code of conduct and you have to abide by their code of conduct because it's a part of the contractual agreement of your employment. But because we're operating in a badman government, we're operating in a new form dictatorship, then accountability is not a thing. This is the reason why Father Ken couldn't see the need to say to his congregants, you should ask your government for real engagement and transparency and account and good governance. But a bishop from Britain could be asking the Jamaican populace, demand good governance and real engagement from your leaders, because what they're doing, they're talking around you, they're talking over you, they're talking about you, but they're not talking to you. This is what she's saying. They're not talking to you. Neither do they care about you, because there's no real engagement between you and them. Our archbishops in Jamaica don't say that. Them have to make foreign archbishop. Foreign archbishop, you know, come tell them your job as somebody who portray yourself to be Christ-like is to lead and direct those who you claim are your flock. But because it's about the offering and it's about keeping the sleep, there's many people and organizations and institutions created around you to keep the sleep. Therefore, consideration was given to appointing one commissioner of the ECJ, or the appointment of only the selected commissioners to serve in the role of the political ombudsman. Why, this is one conundrum, but these proposals were rejected. The fact is, Andrew and Delroy don't know what they might do. Them just conjure up something at last point to bamboozle you, to make sure they aren't held accountable to any violation, any criminal or constitutional violation during this election period. The eventual decision have the full complement of the ECJ, assumes the function of the office of the political ombudsman was grounded in written communication from the body indicating that it would be willing to serve in the capacity, and affirming that the ECJ should execute the function as an indivisible body. So the letter they're talking about here is when they came to Parliament that morning with the rush 8-hour legislation. They came with a letter from Earl Jarrett. Earl Jarrett is the director of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. So they came with a letter from Earl Jarrett, giving his okay and support that, yes, man, we can take on the new role. I hope I'm pushing under the table. I go on, because when we close down, I shut down an investigation phone. When we shut down an investigation phone, then when we shut down the investigation phone, then by all means, we don't have to go push something in my hand. So of course me will take on it, because you know, the money and them thing that we there about, we're not really there about the people them. We're not really there about good governance and accountability. No, man, are the people, are the money, are the pocket, you know what the pocket, are that them there about. So that's why Earl Jarrett could have make sure him give them that letter when them a come up and say, no man, me can manage. Nothing wrong with that. The ECJ composed of 4 selected and 4 nominated commissioners, as well as a director of election. It well placed to address and resolve any breaches of political misconduct, or treat rather with any incident of political misconduct. This is due to the fact that the 2 main political parties are represented from the outset during any deliberations of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, and the 4 nominated members are well versed in adjudication. That's not the point, whether they're well versed in adjudication or not. The problem is rather here, if they will be allowed to adjudicate with justice and fairness, if they will be allowed rather to do their job without government interference. But how could they be doing their job without government interference when their final reporting would be to the Prime Minister if it's Earl Jarrett and them and Earl Jarrett locked up in the office of the Prime Minister together? So it's rather a bamboozled argument. Them just a push the blind way, but never mind them. This knowledge and expertise is further butterized, or whatever the word is, by the resources available to the director of election in the 3 constituencies island-wide. That can be used to receive and verify information on the ground. The electoral office at Jamaica island-wide, and they so carry out the biggest electoral corruption, because they so Trenton and Dr. Nesbitt them flip people name off an electoral list. So no don't talk nonsense about here. This is where them flip people, and this is where a lot of the corruption go on. This is the place where them put dead people. Them keep dead people on electoral list. So we don't talk about no corruption because we know about it. What are the concerns? Concerns have been raised in Parliament and the wider public that using the Electoral Commission of Jamaica to undertake the function of the public, I'm just going to say public ombudsman because it's easier for me, of the public ombudsman would be an inappropriate and ill-considerate approach, which is correct. It is inappropriate and it is ill-considered. Why? Because it was an 8-hour legislation in the attempt to steal the election, because the Prime Minister has refused from November 2022 to reappoint the office, because if he reappoints it under the legislation that gave the power to Donna Parchment Brown, many of them will be held accountable, and they don't want that. So they have to change not only the power of the office, but also change the holder. They have to make sure the holder have to be somebody in my pocket. This is what it's all about, corruption. There was also some unease expressed about whether this body would be tainted as a result of undertaking the function of the public ombudsman. Of course, the ECJ is tainted by doing so. Their job is to regulate our electoral process. The office of the public ombudsman is the one that should investigate the Electoral Commission of Jamaica should there be any corruption going on in the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. So you're going to ask mosquito to brush mosquito off of your face. This is all you're going to do. Ask mosquito to brush mosquito off of your face. Wait till me get my little bit of blood. There was also some unease expressed about whether this body would be tainted as a result of undertaking the functions of the public ombudsman, or that instead of staying above the fray, that it would become embroiled in political controversy, quite correctly so, because the Jamaica Labour Party is using the office to their advantage. So it's quite rightly so. It is our consideration viewed that these concerns are ill-conceived, as the Electoral Commission of Jamaica has, since its inception, contributed to decision-making process governing the established constituency boundaries. That's their job. That's one of their areas. The replacement of polling centers and other constituency dispute, They can adjudicate and things like that. They are the Electoral Commission. They have no duty to one of the corrupt body is given the power to investigate himself. It just doesn't work. This has also on occasion had to mediate between contesting candidates. It is the government position that the Electoral Commission of Jamaica has the most appropriate mechanism to operationalize the function of the political ombudsman, as there is inherent similarities in the legislative prescribed function of the both parliamentary commission. Yes, and the wholeness. And they're right. So Parliament gave power to both bodies, but government gave the Parliament gave powers to both bodies, but both bodies under wholeness should be acting independent of themselves and independent of government. Meaning, you under wholeness shouldn't have control over it. Meaning you shouldn't have control over it, and meaning that the Public Ombudsman Office and the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, they have two separate roles. The Office of the Political Ombudsman is to investigate and discipline. The Office of the Electoral Commission is to regulate and administrate our electoral process. They are two different public bodies with two different roles. Putting the two together cannot work. The only way it will work, it's with the intention to create more corruption. The ECJ is a body that has been successful, and its decision has been accepted by the political parties and parliament without demur. It enjoys the trust and confidence of political parties and the wider public, and we have every reason to believe that when it undertakes its additional role as the public ombudsman, that it will do so fairly, disproportionately, and without bias. That wouldn't wash with me. You know, you can tell Anvars that who believe Santa come down chimney, but you wouldn't be able to manage to convince me of that. It is accepted that the ECJ has provided exceptional service to the country since its inception, as evidenced by the numerous accolades accorded to it locally, regionally, and internationally. Conversely, though, the track record of the Office of the Political Ombudsman in the execution of its legislative prescribed function and powers. I don't know why they put just function and leave out the powers. Function and powers are two different things. Gleaner dunce. Function has not been as stellar. It hasn't been as stellar, Gleaner. The reason why is because it is controlled by these public people who can double into it. Because when they had Harold Blair there, they had no problem with a corrupt Harold Blair. Their problem is with a Dana Parchment Brown with integrity, who would exercise not just the functions of the office, but the power given to the office to bring those corrupt public officials to the book. This is due to, in part, of the inability, rather, of the singular office holder to persuade non-compliant members of the island political party to follow prescribed instruction to ameliorate the misconduct All you have to do is you make sure the rules are enforced when the political ombudsman give an adjudication. Because them give a fair one, why not remove her when they rule fairly against Michelle Charles? And they just chat a load of crap. This inability to drive change will not be a feature of the future interchange between these groups, and the ECJ has its recommendation will be readily accepted by the political directorate, thereby increasing the likelihood of compliance by its members and the recommended decision. Oh boy. A we name fool. That's all them take with her. Recognizing the ECJ distinguished service and the Office of the Public Ombudsman less impressive track record. The government anticipate that the ECJ, with its authority, expertise, and resources, will be instrumental in fostering a culture shift in the behavior of Jamaica political. It shouldn't be shift in, not shift in. It should be shifting the behavior of Jamaica political party and their member. That was the scandal the Glean and Delroy Chuck put together. There was also the concerns raised as well. I hope I'm not confusing you all. Please tell me if I'm confusing you, because me not read straight, you know. Was I confusing you? But then the Gleaner editorial, where is it? The Gleaner editorial, ombudsman still toothless. Dog no teeth. Can bark but can't bite. Hold on there. Dog no teeth. Toothless but cannot bite. Toothless but can't bite. Dog muzzle. Hold on, Antonia. Hold on. You should see my number should come back on the screen shortly. But does it come up in this? Let me see. I don't remember. If not. But yeah, that's the number there on the screen. Just do a quick screenshot, please, Anthony. Toothless dog, multiple dog. That's what the editorial is saying. But let me take a quick break, and then we will be back to look at the editorial article.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again. What people do in no money, what people at you in no at you. Covid money missing we in the your little rat you. Use the youth them money waste and must a man to start you. Say me like a catch you but bigger than a figure you. Take this print of money girl and say that is not you. One day the man above me look him a got up. Too much it in the kitchen so my fly by like a patu. My singers and DJs and social media's coming at you. It burn me 300% free. It burn me garbage pile of the day. It burn me give the teacher them raise. It burn me I see corruption face. It burn me mash down the people them house. It burn me every day appear arms out. It burn me appear money them a thief. It burn me and them a sell out the beach. Can't for me again. You can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again. Come me say big up all the charities and all of the giver. Some a go like say them powerful, me no make a bigger. The already promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, they rap and they down in a whatever. Member bowl money and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start like thief when them sell. It burn me. Or they treat the market man. It burn me. Or them a treat the cat man. It burn me. Or they treat the peanut man. It burn me. Or them a treat the dirt man. It burn me. Or them a treat the son man. It burn me. Or them a treat policeman. It burn me. Or them a treat soldier man. It burn me. Or them a treat everyone. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't.
Yes, good afternoon and welcome back. We will now look at the editorial article in the Gleaner, which is a response to the article I've just read, where the Gleaner and Delroy Chuck is justifying, where Delroy Chuck and the way the Gleaner can help them to concoct the story in order to mislead you, where they're saying the Electoral Commission of Jamaica can manage to assist us in corruption. So let's look at the editorial response. One of the sorry facts, as you see the title, Ombudsman still toothless. Dog teeth take out. Dog muzzle. Dog can't bite. Prime Minister, make sure he muzzle the dog before him set the dog off down. So you don't have to worry. If knives not bother you, then there's not much to worry about. One of the sorry facts of the government bad decision in saddling the Electoral Commission of Jamaica with the job of the political ombudsman, and the commission equally bad choice of accepting, is the shifting premise upon which it rests. The shifting premise on which it rests. What shifting premise do I think they're talking about? I'm not saying what they are talking about, what I think they are talking about. The dictatorial premise. The shifting premise on which it rests. The dictatorial premise. Because in a democracy, this is not how we change rules. It is by how we do it in autocracy, or dictatorship, or despotism. as the Andrew Holness regime has been coming off recent. Let me remind you again, I told you the other day, this is how enough to read. Read and quarrel, read and mind people business. Make it look like a people business or not mine. Then reading will become very much more interested. Don't just aim to read fast and flat away like some people are both the reading. None of the journalistic reading. Read to understand. Read to decode. Read to demystify and detangle. Don't flutter away like you're a journalist. Half the time you see people are flutter away like them are journalists. They just don't understand what they just read like a while. So you must read like you mind people business. And you must read like you quarrel. And then it will get more interested. It will get you in the interest of interacting. You think somebody in the paper or the book or the phone where you read from an answer back to you. So these are some of the ways to read with interest. Read like a quarrel. So let's go back to the article. So it's the shifting from the democracy premise to the dictatorship premise is my argument, as the Gleaner is the editorial is referring to here. A dictatorial premise, because only in a dictatorship you would change the rules in the way how the prime minister has done it. It is not the way by which it ought to be done. Continue on. So if the ECJ/Ombudsman reprimands a politician for breach of political code of conduct and order an action in redress, the commission will have no means of enforcing its ruling. In that respect, the ECJ will be no different from the office of the political ombudsman. So what they're saying here, you can't investigate yourself and you can't enforce a rule upon yourself. Who really enforce rule upon themselves? You can walk and make up the argument them to fool people, to make it seem as if we have this thing and it's working and we are using it. But to hell with you, we don't have to comply with it. We just use it for you to say, okay, well, at least it did it and them are using. But it's just another con. Have it on paper and implementing it in practice is awfully two different things. Implementation and enforcement is a legislative scandal in our society. When you hear these people call for new laws, we really don't need new law. Because literally, all of these laws they're making up are literally bullshit, just to control us. As long as you cause no loss, no hurt, or no bloody harm, everything else is legal for you to do with your conscience, as long as you're not causing any loss, any hurt, or any harm. The law doesn't much go further than that. All of these bullshit of a conundrum that they send us to law school to study. What we study is statute and legislation. We don't study the law. The law is very simple. I cause no loss, no hurt, or no harm. That's the law. Doesn't bloody well go further than that. The rest of it is a con. Believe you me, the rest of it is a con to control. The law doesn't go further than I cause no hurt, no loss, no harm. And if the thing is not a wrong, I've got the right to do it. But they take you to law school. 3, sometimes 4 years to do an undergraduate degree. 1 year to 18 months to do a master's postgraduate. And then about 4 to 6 years to do a PhD graduate. It's all to suck money out of you and keep you in the sleep. It is to keep the sleep. As long as the thing is not a wrong, it is a right. And if you are not causing any loss to anyone, if you are not causing any hurt to anyone, and you're not causing any harm to anyone, then there's nothing that society should interfere in your autonomy. All of the things where you see, legislation, regulation, constitution, bullshit, they are all methods of control. Right, let me get back to the article. In that respect, the ECJ will be no different from the Office of the Political Ombudsman, which it is subsuming. But reputationally, the ECJ has far more to lose than the political ombudsman did. The editorial is saying here, because the ECJ has always seemed to be an organization with somewhat of a credibility. And the track record of the political ombudsman is one of failure of particularly investigation and implementation on enforcement. So they're saying the ECJ lapping together with such a failure is just going to become tainted, and they have nothing to gain from this jumping into bed other than just be seen as one of Holdness's skettle. But reputationally, the ECJ has far more to lose than the ombudsman did, which is why the decision of Earl Jarrett, the crook, the hand on the table Earl Jarrett, the ECJ chairman, and the 3 other independent commissioners, retired Judge Zella McCullough, Carl Harrison, and the information technology expert Maurice Barnes, to accept the potential risk of what governing Jamaica's Labour Party, Carl Samuda, calls tinkering. Means say I play with things, tinkering with the commission, remaining unfathomable. We can't, what? Not Delroy Chuck. Delroy Chuck is a criminal here. Carl Samuda is saying, I find it really hard to believe. This puzzles me. I cannot fathom this. Why Andrew Holness? Why Andrew Holness, Delroy Chuck, and Earl Jarrett would have played with our constitution, a constitutional office, and our legislative process in the monkey season way how them do it. Them just take it and scratch it under the belly and get it how they want it. These people are overnight crooks. Right. The question of enforcement of the absence of power so to do is not the only conundrum of this debate. It is nevertheless an important one, given the administration posture on the matter over the last 15 months. So, what them I say, so? Them I say the silverback gorilla approach, the big up broad chest approach what Andrew take in this thing over the last 15 months. It's a defensive posture. It's a bad man government posture. It is a me have my political majority in a parliament, so sod the lot of you. I can legislate anything into law which I want because I have the majority vote in parliament. A key emphasis was that the political ombudsman office was weak because it lacked teeth. It have to lack teeth if Andrew Holness corrupt it and successive government corrupt it and now allow the office to function the way how we see Dana Parchment Brown uses the office against in the investigation against Michelle Charles. As this newspaper has highlighted several times, like the ECJ, the political ombudsman was one of the outgrowth of Jamaica electoral turbulence in the 1970s and 80s, when the voting was often mirrored by fraud and campaign frequency turned violent, which was James Roberts and Darrell Vaza and Vaz them started. So basically, not really change. The same administration at the help. Remember, say Andrew sent out him bad man police them where they come one. We say it's a different approach now. Come like now look. You remember? It's a different approach now. The pigs, the ECJ and the ECJ, an independent body, had charge of the mechanism of election, while the political ombudsman dealt with the behavioral element of the process, focusing primarily on descendancy and ethics of campaign to prevent them turning violent. Missed important points. That hosting are not those days that incessantly erupted volcanoes of the past caused some people to claim that the ombudsman job was obsolete. That's everyone in bullcrap. And to be done away with. It's obsolete and should be done away with. That was Everett Warmington calling for that in 2012. Now you see the crookedness of the Andrew Holness regime since them coming. So them have this plot long time from the Bruce Golden era anyway. So maybe that's why them I make Andrew win the leadership rather than Shah, because Andrew planned to implement the dictatorship. As a result, even St. Thomas highlighted the fact that the flames may have died does not mean that a smothering tinderbox is not present. What they're saying here, what we see happen in St. Thomas the other day, Dean Jones back out him gun. Dean Jones a buy vote, back out him gun, kick down, run down, and all sorts of Jamaica Labour Party violence that we're used to during election is a reminder that even though the political violence of the 80s have died down, but that mentality that we see James and Dean have, we can have a tinderbox but just fly open at any time. Second, that assessment of the ombudsman missed the essence and potentials of the office. It is just not about being a policeman. enforcing the code of political conduct, but it is possible that promoting a deeper ethical political behavior beyond the mechanism of a fair vote and anti-corruption framework. Them no want them something, you mad? Oh, fair vote and anti-corruption. Oh, government are going to survive on fair vote and anti-corruption. Hmm? They would have to go take up shovel, hoe, pickaxe, and machete and go ride donkey go farm. You stay there. Them no want them something that them want cushy job where them either sit down and tell lie or push computer key and tell lie. Delroy Chuck, the minister with responsibility of electoral matters, has argued that the office of the political ombudsman continued to produce luxury results in the year since 2012. Can I plan to do away with it long time? When one of his colleagues called for the disbandment, causing the current administration to decide several years ago not to renew the contract of Donna Parchment Brown and the expiration in November 2022. I don't know why I don't want to put her name in there, but I'm going to call the people understand what we do. That on its face suggests that a failure to apprehend the greater potential of the office and the cure for its perceived malady for what Mr. Chuck highlighted is not a problem of the office per se, but more the quality of its leadership. This is not fair though, because Donna Parchment Brown was leading the office. Me not understand. This is bamboozling. Them I tell you said there was no leadership there. But if there was no leadership there, why were they so upset over Donna Parchment Brown adjudication against Michelle Charles and refused to reappoint the office since then? They only had that problem with the office when the office works. If it's stated dormant and don't work, them don't have a problem. They only have problem when it works. He feels that ensconcing the responsibility of the ombudsman in the ECJ will imbued the goodwill that the commissioner enjoys. So I must say then, let me lump the two of them together because public ombudsman have good reputation, and because ECJ have good reputation, let me lump them together and see if the office of the political ombudsman would draw upon some of the blessing and goodwill where ECJ have. But in 2022, he also signaled that this move would be supplemented with additional powers, which hopefully could be managed and supervised by the Electoral Commission. As recent as January, Mr. Chuck was still making the case for enforcement power for the ombudsman in its new home so that penalty could be imposed from apology to suspension. Well, let me say, at the moment, because for Michelle, when the Michelle Charles ruling, I think it was she was called to give an apology. I don't know if they'll find it imposed, but she was asked to make a public apology. Now, what Chuck is saying here, we would give powers to the office so parliamentarians who break the rules can be suspended from parliament. The issue again, though, Delroy Chuck, is enforceability. So the candidate, if they misbehave and they don't apologize, or wanna see why Dean run go apologize, they buy pint gun pan or pay for apology. So the candidate, if they misbehave and don't apologize, if the misbehavior is so erroneous that the Electoral Commission could not, in fact, stop them from continuing to run for office. The minister said the amendment of the law approved by Parliament last week are void to enforce powers. Mr. Chuck now argues that because of the ECJ reputation and the fact that it will act as an indivisible body, 4 independent members and 2 each from the major political parties. Its recommendation will be readily accepted by the political directorate, thereby increasing the likelihood of compliance with the recommended decision. This newspaper desperately hopes he is right and that discussion and hearing into complaint of breaches of code of conduct or behaviors that undermines or threaten peace do not run into figurative slugfest between the political parties. Means that if something are gone which needed to be investigated, rather than allow the 2 parties to having a mudsling out there about it, the office should apply the mechanism to get the issue under control and adjudicate on it. Indeed, it will be interesting to observe, if that were possible, how the mechanism or investigation and hearing are managed, including whether all 9 commissioners will gather as a tribunal of fact and law and nuance, meaning will they apply the law correctly to the fact, and nuance, will their decision be neutral and independent of any political fingering or pushing on the things. This tinkering with the ECJ, which had been good at what it was designed to do, clearly holds threat to the for the institution. The Electoral Monitoring Group Sentences of Free and Fair Election distilled and fair a wide range of civil society organizations with its argument that it was not prudent to submit to the Electoral Commission of Jamaica the ethical question which are normally dealt with by the political ombudsman. Or, as Mr. Smoother told his parliamentary colleague, subsuming the office of the political ombudsman into the ECJ risk reintroducing concern and confrontation of a partisan nature that detract from the distinctly apolitical meaning neutral and neutral work of the body. The apolitical mean that even though you have your political ideology, you don't have a public political view on the thing because of your office. So this is where this article ends. You heard Delroy Chuck's argument, and you also heard the response from the gleaner. But what do you, the people, say? Are they furthering and tinkering with your constitution and your legislative process? But this is where Jamaica decided leave it this afternoon. Thank you for being here with us. So I hope me going through these two articles give you, if you have not read them for yourself. Oops, some vehicle passed out the road that just scared me. If you have not read them for yourself, it gives you a clear understanding of the playing and the tinkering that they're doing with your systems. Good morning, good afternoon to a few people who have joined. Rosalie Ricketts, JJ Beulah, good morning, good afternoon. Who else have I seen? Good morning, good afternoon. If you have joined while I wasn't paying attention, Paula Shelley, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. JB, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. We will definitely see you back later. Thank you very much for your patience, your time, and your support. Carla Humphreys, good morning, good afternoon. And we will definitely see you back here this evening, this afternoon. Thank you very much for being a global TV fan. Kenny Marshall, good morning, good afternoon. Angela 48349, good morning, good afternoon. Samora Tyrell, good morning, good afternoon. Ma'am Miriam, good morning, good afternoon. Sandra Ellis, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. We hope to see you all back here this afternoon. This was your program, Global TV, Jamaica Decides.